The grand ballroom sparkled with chandeliers worth more than most people's homes. 20 flawless models stood in a perfect line, their designer gowns glittering under the golden light. At the center of it all, the billionaire smiled proudly, convinced his daughter would pick one of them to be her new mother. Cameras flashed, whispers filled the air. But as the young girl's eyes scanned the room, she stopped not on the gowns, not on the diamonds, but on a woman in a simple black uniform, carrying a tray of empty glasses. And in that moment, the world around them froze. The billionaire's mansion was a palace of marble floors and endless hallways, a place where luxury dripped from every corner. For years, it had been just him and his daughter, Amelia, living in this world of privilege. Her mother had passed away when she was only 6, leaving a quiet emptiness in their home that no amount of wealth could fill. Now on her 15th birthday, he decided it was time to complete their family. The plan was bold. He would host a grand party and invite only the most beautiful, sophisticated women. Models from across the globe arrived, each draped in couture and jewels, each ready to impress. The guests thought it was a game of glamour, but Amelia saw it differently. She had grown up surrounded by people who wanted something from her father: status, power, wealth, and yet, hidden in the shadows of the mansion's grandeur, was someone who never asked for anything, someone whose kindness had been the quiet heartbeat of Amelia's life. As the party began, everyone's eyes were on the glittering stage, but Amelia's gaze kept drifting toward the woman in the black uniform, the maid who had raised her like her own, and deep inside, she already knew her choice would shock the world. The music swelled through the chandelier-lit hall, and the billionaire stepped onto the stage. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked, and the women lined up, each wearing their most dazzling smile. "Tonight," he announced with pride, "my daughter will choose the woman who will become her new mother." Gasps of excitement rippled through the crowd. The models exchanged polite glances, but their eyes gleamed with silent competition. One by one they stepped forward, offering compliments, graceful bows, and promises of love and care. The air was thick with perfume and ambition. Amelia stood beside her father, her hands clasped behind her back. She listened, she nodded, but her heart felt heavy. These women, for all their beauty, were strangers who had never stayed up late to comfort her after nightmares. They had never celebrated her smallest victories or wiped away her tears, without asking for anything in return. In the corner of the room, almost invisible, stood Grace, the black maid who had been in their home since Amelia was 8. She didn't wear designer gowns. Her uniform was simple, her hands worn from years of work. But those hands had braided Amelia's hair, packed her lunches, and clapped the loudest at every school recital. The billionaire leaned down to Amelia. "It's time," he whispered, expecting her to pick one of the glamorous women before them. But Amelia's heart was pounding. She stepped away from him, walking slowly down the line, not toward the stage, but toward the back of the room. Conversation stopped. Eyes followed. She reached Grace, took her hand, and said, loud enough for all to hear, "This is the woman I choose." The room erupted. Whispers, gasps, disbelief. Cameras clicked faster. Some guests laughed in shock. Others stared in silence. And somewhere beneath the noise, Grace's eyes began to fill with tears. The billionaire froze. For a moment, it was as if the music, the chatter, even the shimmering lights had all been swallowed by silence. His proud smile faltered, replaced by confusion, then disbelief. "Amelia, this is not a joke," he said, his voice tight, almost pleading. "You have the chance to choose a mother who can give you the life you deserve." She held Grace's hand tighter. "She already has." "Amelia, this is not a joke," he said, his voice tight, almost pleading. "You have the chance to choose a mother who can give you the life you deserve." She held Grace's hand tighter. "She already has." The words cut through the air like glass shattering. The models shifted uncomfortably, their flawless smiles slipping. Guests began murmuring louder, some shaking their heads. To them it was madness, trading wealth and prestige for a maid. Grace tried to pull her hand away, her voice trembling. "Miss Amelia, please. I'm not—" "Yes, you are," Amelia interrupted firmly. "You're the one who made me breakfast when Dad was too busy. You're the one who stayed by my bed when I was sick. You taught me to be kind, to be strong, to never look down on anyone. That's what a real mother does." The billionaire's jaw tightened. Years of running boardrooms and commanding empires had prepared him for many things, but not this. His daughter defying him in front of the city's elite, choosing love over status. It was a wound to his pride. But as he looked into Amelia's eyes, he saw something he couldn't ignore: conviction. The kind his late wife once had. And for the first time in years, his voice softened. "If this is truly your choice," he said slowly, "then so be it." Gasps filled the hall. The flash of cameras turned blinding. Grace's tears finally spilled over, and Amelia hugged her tightly. The billionaire stood there, surrounded by everything money could buy, yet realizing that the most valuable thing in the room couldn't be purchased at all. The party never returned to its former glitter. The models quietly drifted toward the exit, their high heels clicking softly on the marble, their designer gowns swishing as they whispered about the scene they had just witnessed. The billionaire's friends lingered awkwardly, unsure whether to offer congratulations or condolences. But in the center of the grand hall, Amelia stood with Grace, holding her hand as though it were the most natural thing in the world. Grace's face was still wet with tears, her expression caught between disbelief and overwhelming gratitude. Later that night, after the last guest had left, the mansion was quiet again. The billionaire called Grace into his study. She entered cautiously, unsure what to expect. He poured 2 glasses of water, something he'd never done for a staff member, before and gestured for her to sit. "Grace," he began, his voice low, "I never thanked you. Not for the meals, not for the patience, not for loving my daughter when I was too caught up in my world to notice." Grace looked down, her hands trembling slightly. "Sir, I never did it for thanks. I did it because she needed it, and because I cared." He nodded, his eyes softening. "From this day forward, you're not just an employee. You're family." Amelia, standing quietly in the doorway, smiled through her own tears. For her, this wasn't about breaking tradition or shocking society. It was about giving the title of mother to the woman who had already earned it 1,000 times over. Weeks later, the tabloids still buzzed about the billionaire who let his daughter choose a maid as her mother. Some mocked it, some called it inspiring. But to Amelia, none of that mattered. Because every morning when she came downstairs, Grace was there, smiling, asking about her dreams, and reminding her that the best things in life are never bought. They are given freely from the heart. And in that sprawling marble mansion, for the first time in years, it truly felt like a home.